Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the CDL podcast channel. In this episode today, we are going to be doing predictions for the first set of matches for stage 3 of the CDL season. And then we're also going to talk about the roster news and the roster changes that went down. And we're going to finish out the pod with a CDL teams tier list. Instead of the player tier list, we were kind of going over and instead of roster changes being kind of like flips between players this time around, it was a lot of new faces joining the league and kind of dumb in both mine and Brock's opinion to do a tier list when we're just kind of like, usually our default is like if there's one rookie, we just kind of like throw them in a bottom tier just because we don't want to rank them yet. But with so many new players coming in, it's a little bit awkward to rank them without ever seeing them, and we don't want to like throw them way too high or throw them way too low since most of it is based off recent performance instead of like how we're projecting into the future. It just messes up the ranking. So gonna wait a little bit to do that, and we're instead gonna rank the teams how we see them fit, and that's how we're going to end the podcast. So if you guys enjoy this one, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. You guys showed some crazy support on my little mini pod, talking about the Optic roster change right when it happened. So if you guys enjoy stuff like that, you want me to do more mini pod stuff like that, drop a comment down below because that's always something fun to do just to get some more content out besides just one weekly podcast. But yeah, let's dive right into it, Brock. How you doing today?
Feeling good. Some more matches this weekend. Excited to watch. Let's get into it.
Yeah, gonna be a fun week of matches. Honestly, haven't dove too deep. Sometimes I do for my predictions, but kind of going in a little bit more blind today. I've been pretty busy, and looks like we've got a pretty decent set of matches this week. We get to see a lot of our new teams in action, so that'll be fun to see. Florida's new roster gets a nice test right away because they have to play New York and Faze.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll learn a lot about their roster, I suppose. Really going into this week, but let's talk about rank play first. How about that? It was announced. I'm cautiously optimistic. I've seen Call of Duty tell me that something's coming out on some day plenty of times, and it doesn't happen. So I'm still cautiously optimistic it's actually going to come out on the 15th. I still think there's that awkward, weird chance that it doesn't end up coming out.
Yeah.
15th because that's what they tend to do. But hey, we're gonna act like it is coming out that day, and we're gonna be positive. But we can get into details of it. But like initial thoughts, I think it looks really good. It looks like system wise, if everything works correctly, potentially one of the better systems we've had in Call of Duty, if not the best.
Yeah. I fully agree. Honestly, the only thing I'm kind of like worried about is they said everyone's gonna start in bronze, so
Yeah, the beginning is going to be a little interesting.
it's gonna be tough beginning. So I gotta
It's going to
say,
be either tough or like you're going to get some matches that are like, what am I even playing?
yeah, you're gonna get here to play like some people that aren't the greatest, and the next thing you play people that are the greatest.
Yeah, because like where you and I will balance out will probably be somewhere in that diamond to crimson range.
Yeah,
Like
I would think so.
we'll be somewhere in there. So like if we're playing players that are top 250, we're probably not going to be able to compete. I mean, those are like pro level players. We'll hold our own, but we won't be able to beat pro teams and stuff like that or like top
Yeah.
challenger teams. But like also we might end up playing some people that are truly bronze players and like we're gonna absolutely smoke them 250 to 10 in hardpoint or something.
Yeah, that'll be a snooze fest, but excited for it if it stays true on the 15th.
Yeah, if it stays true, that's a big thing. But some other things that to talk about with it is obviously it's like the same as ever. You win, you gain SR, you lose SR. Pretty self-explanatory there. But like in the little like GIF that they have, it shows somebody going up plus 128. So I saw that the SR goes all the way up to 10,000, and then 10,000 plus is like the top 250. And I was like, that is a lot of skill points, but that makes sense. I guess you're getting 128
Yeah.
for a win, so just at a bigger scale. But the top 250 leaderboard looks really cool.
Yeah, it definitely does. Is
It's
that
gonna like feature a lot of pros. It's got like the picture of Draws on there. It's gonna like show the
Yeah,
CDL player profiles.
that is pretty cool to see because what last year I was like, oh, is this the real person or
Yeah.
what?
But now they're gonna have like their official accounts, I'm sure, and then like it has like the team logo next to it. So that's really cool, like promotion of the CDL. And then honestly, my favorite part about the whole thing, I see the whole everyone starts in bronze here. That's a little bit scary. Everybody who places in gold or above will get a skin. The thing that I really, really, really liked was the whole leaving match thing. Did you see that feature?
Wasn't it if the person who left the match gets the penalty, but then the other 3 teammates do not?
No. So the reason that would be horrible because then one person could you could just have like somebody on a burner account that would just leave all the time. But what it is if let's say you and I are playing together, just duo queuing,
Yeah.
and we're with two randos, if one of them leaves in the middle of the match, we don't lose SR. They still lose SR, and anybody in their party does. So like,
Oh,
if we're in
okay.
a party of 3, and you leave, I'm still gonna lose SR because although I could just be telling you to quit, to like save my SR. So like, if you're in a party and somebody in your party leaves, you still lose the SR. But
Okay, I see.
if somebody outside your party leaves, you don't. So like if we're trio queuing and you get the one rando and he just leaves for some reason mid map,
Mhm.
you don't lose SR, which is really cool to me. Like if you're solo queuing, it helps a lot because a lot of times when you solo queue and stuff, you get people that leave all the time, and it's just like, what am I even playing this for? And you lose SR, and it's just annoying.
Yeah, that'd definitely be good.
So that seems like, as long as that works properly, that seems like a really good feature. Like
Yeah.
somebody randomly rage quits on your team when it's 100 to 100 because they're on a death streak.
Mhm. I
You don't
hope
lose SR.
yeah, that's true. I hope they have the match cancellation too.
Yeah, where somebody
After
leaves
every
like right away
yeah,
or before the lobby even starts.
yeah, just kick
Yeah,
us
that's
out.
that's definitely true. I'm just glad that it is only people outside your party because I think it would be really dumb if like there was a way that like if you're in a party of 4, if one person leaves, everybody else doesn't lose SR because then you could literally have people on like burner accounts.
Yeah, just keep
And
leaving and leaving.
yeah, and that would be really stupid. But I didn't see anything, unless I missed it. I didn't see anything about like limitations for what SR you have to be within to play with other people. Because typically it's like you have to be within like a division or two, which sometimes
Yeah,
becomes problematic for us because we have a couple friends we play with that are a lot lower. So we usually have to make like alt accounts and stuff.
yeah. Hopefully
Um,
not, but
yeah.
no. See what they say.
So hopefully that's not a thing. But honestly, I guess to summarize, we just got to see what it looks like. Hopefully, it actually does come out Wednesday, and it'll be interesting. Unfortunately, I got a bachelor party this weekend, so after Wednesday night, we're gonna have to be able to play a bunch. But then Thursday, I got work, and then right after work, I'm leaving to go to this weekend long bachelor party, and I'll be gone all weekend, so I won't be able to get in that much ranked play.
Yeah,
But Wednesday
unfortunate,
night,
but
I'll be grinding.
yeah, yeah.
And they added M4 cast off all like the restricted stuff to the restricted list, so that's nice to see.
That's great to see.
A drill charge, you don't have to ever get hit by that again.
Yeah, for real. Or the M4 cheese.
Yeah. All right, roster changes. Let's talk about. We got 4 technically. I think only 2 of them are technically confirmed. Obviously, Optic and then Boston did announce today. Beans. I don't think Florida and Vegas have technically confirmed their roster, unless I miss it. It's basically like a well-known fact what their rosters are or what Vegas is looking to do, and then Florida's is basically like confirmed but not officially. And then
Yeah,
there are maybe some other teams like London making a change. But at the time that we hit record on this, there aren't any rumors about who London could replace them, like replace their players with. So like we're not going to talk about them because we're just going to be talking about rosters we don't know. So if by the time this is out, it came out who London is potentially looking at, that's unfortunate. But when we hit record, it wasn't out there. There's rumors that it could just be Asim building his 3 teammates that he wants to play with, and they
sure.
dropped the rest. But who knows? First team to talk about. I'll let you have the floor first because I already did a mini video with my initial reactions. I have maybe some updated thoughts on it, but Optic, Ghosty in for Illy.
Optic Ghosty. My thoughts is like I didn't really see a reason why to make a change since they got 4th with like maybe a week of practice as a team. So I didn't really get that, but I guess they think that they can't win it all, so they need someone else to pick up
Yeah, I
Ghosty.
mean, I guess, but from what I did hear also, though, I don't know if you heard the clip or I actually listened to the eavesdrop today with Hook on it.
I did not watch that.
Obviously, Hook being newer to the team doesn't know, but from what he said, and who knows, there's a lot more details I'm sure that go into this, but from what he said, it sounded like the impression he got is people on the team. So, I mean, that would mean
Yeah,
Dashy and Shotzi, obviously, had wanted to potentially make this change for a while.
really.
So maybe it was like, and that's not really shocking because of the whole like off season. They did
Uh-huh.
drop him for a day or two there.
Yeah.
Um, so that's not really shocking, I guess, to hear, but it sounded like it was more of like a thing that had been on their mind for a while and they just decided to go for it and do it rather than like they absolutely like just lost full after this weekend and thought they had to drop Illy. It sounds like it had been on their mind for a while.
Hmm.
Um, thoughts on Ghosty though? It's so hard because like I mean, I was having an argument with somebody in the comments on the last podcast, but like it's so hard to judge because I see the positives on both sides. I think Ghosty provides more slaying upside than Illy.
Yeah.
Like I think Ghosty has more ability to drop that 40 and 30 map in a hard point that just helps you dominate and gets you a lot of slaying. But man, and maybe Ghosty will bring this because I've heard he sounds like Tyler Fellow in the comms, Motormouth. People were saying he's really good in the comms, but like it's going to be hard for anybody to bring better comms and intangibles and like in-game leadership and just overall teammate ability than Illy because he's, to my knowledge, one of the best at that.
Yeah, he's literally like one of a kind. If he's like in that role aspect
As a teammate, like communicator, yeah, strategizer, like he I would agree. He seems like he's a top tier, and there's a
big
reason.
grinder.
Like, yeah, Krim, Clay, all these like all-time greats that have played with Illy were like, "What? You dropped Illy?
Yeah,
Challengers player?" Like they couldn't believe it.
yeah. So more slaying. I don't know how good he really is in search.
I think from what I've heard, he's pretty good, and he also has a snipe on him. So that's interesting because he's obviously replacing Illy, who was a snipe on this team. I mean, they have Dashy. We know. Haven't seen him snipe this year, but I'm pretty confident Dashy, one of the best snipers of all time, could probably snipe in this game.
Yeah, I'm just excited to see how this team performs as a team.
I am as well because like their slaying potential got higher to me, which is why like I'm not saying I don't think this will work. And also like if they had been thinking about this for a while, maybe the chemistry has been off for a while with Illy, and like we know that like even if Ghosty ends up being a slightly worse player than Illy, sometimes your team will get better if it's just a chemistry issue and the vibes are just up and Ghosty comes in and he's communicating well and like if the vibes are up with him, you never know. He might just end up being better for the team, even if he ends up being a little worse. But I'm intrigued to see it. I really hope Illy finds his way to a roster. I thought maybe Boston was a spot for him. Obviously not the case, but I mean, anybody. I was arguing with people that were trying to say Illy's a terrible player. It's just I don't. It's the thing I hate in sports. It's the hot take culture. It's like somebody can't just be a good player. They have to either be like the greatest player you've ever seen, or they have to be terrible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
which like the nature of sports and esports is, guess what? Most players aren't great or terrible. Most players are just kind of average.
Yeah. Can't everyone be good?
And I think Illy's above average personally, and I think a lot of people would agree with that. And I think you saw all the shock from the pros says enough. Says all you need to know that Illy is a fantastic player. But for whatever reason, there are a lot of people out there that think that you either have to be like the greatest player or the worst player, and there's no in between. But I don't think Illy is the best player in the league. I don't think he's the worst player in the league. I think he's a really good player that provides a lot to a team, and there are a lot of teams that could use him, like Vegas. If they switched around things, obviously roles don't really make sense there because Temp and Clay are pretty heavily set on ARs, and Illy is also an AR. But like teams like that like if you could switch around the roster, if it just didn't so happen that their two best players were two ARs, Illy could do a lot of damage for a lot of teams.
I just want Illy to go to. I want to go to Seattle for the year.
Yeah, Seattle for accuracy.
Yeah, just make the change.
Oh yeah, it'd be nice. Illy on the main over there would be nice, and that I mean, hello, what does that team struggle with? Search and destroy. Yeah, and what does Illy provide?
A little bit of S&D here and there. I'm not sure though.
Well, S&D prowess, despite what some people might say about him, he's a very good S&D player.
Yeah, and also it doesn't hurt since they're literally 1 year and Simp is gone, so might as well go all in this year.
Yeah, might as well go all in. So the team that just continues to fail and can't win a search and destroy. Yeah.
Yeah, but doesn't seem like that's the plan.
Yeah, we can move on from that roster though. Excited to see them play because talent's there. They got the talent to do almost anything. But moving on to another team, Florida, that I also think got significantly better. I think in terms of where they are to where they're going, I think Florida might have the biggest step up of the four teams we're about to talk about. Because I think Optic could get better, but they were already like a top 4 team roughly, so it's hard for them to get a lot better, Yeah,
they're already good.
And like the next two teams we'll talk about, I think they could both get better potentially. But like I think Florida goes from like bottom tier to like I see a world where this team ends up having top 8 potential, maybe top 6 potential. I like the upgrades from this team. They added Fellow and Capsidal for Vickle and Major.
Yeah.
And also Brack back in, I guess, for Dave.
My boy Brack's back.
Yeah.
Deservingly. No, by Capsidal and Havoc, look at a good sub duo, I would say.
Yeah, slaying upside, pace too. Those two bring pace.
Oh, they're moving.
And they Fellow, yeah. You talk about Fellow. I know what you're gonna say about Fellow. You talk about Fellow.
Fellow, he's just like. What is he like? He's just someone you kind of have to have on your team. He's a good all around player, I would say.
Communication too, top tier.
Big comms.
His nickname is literally Motor Mouth because he just like goes crazy in the comms and
He's
talks
also
at light speed.
also pretty nasty from what
Great
I
search and
see.
destroy player typically.
Yep. All around
And
player. Does it all.
And let's be honest, like this team still probably gonna have to have like it be like a bread and butter is S&D team.
Yeah.
Probably what's going to be. And Fellow brings a lot in S&D. Cap also brings a lot in S&D. Havoc, Brack. Like this team has potential to be very good in S&D. And I think Vickle is going to end up overall probably being a really good player. I think this just wasn't a fit for him when he was playing with the super slow AR duo he had.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think he would, if you would have kept Vickle instead of Capsule on this team, I think he probably would have flourished a little bit more with this roster with Fellow speeding things up. So unfortunate for him, but I also think Capsule is a fantastic player. I think it was kind of a crime that he wasn't on a starting roster to start this year because I thought he was so good last year and he showed so much potential. Like there were flaws in his game, but it was his rookie year.
He's learning.
But I think him and Havoc provide them with the highest upside sub duo they've had in Florida for quite some time. Fellow, like I said, he's going to be Fellow and Brack are going to be very steady ARs that are probably never going to like pop off, but they're going to be consistent for you and they're really not going to screw up and they're going to be good in search and destroy and they're going to have good comms.
Yep.
So I like those two, and I would say also you have to think about context. Context matters. This is Florida. We know, along with like Vegas and London, they're the cheapest teams in the league.
Mm-hmm.
So their roster's probably never going to be the team with Dashy, Shotzzy, and Hook like the superstars. Their team is going to be with grinded out challenger players, and I like the upside they went with. I think this team has potential to crack like a top 8 spot and be a competitive team that's better than they were before. I like the roster.
Definitely moving faster too.
Yeah.
Not playing S&D.
Yeah.
At hard point.
Yeah. Next roster, Boston. Not a massive change here. Awakening, Nero, and Vivid stick in the roster. And then with Methods retiring, Beans comes in. Another potential upgrade to me.
Yeah. Beans.
What we've heard. I mean, what did I hear? I heard Crim on the flank talking about how like Beans made him contemplate retirement because he gunned him so hard in a scrim at the Pro-Am last year.
I think I've heard that actually.
He said Beans like world started him so hard he thought about retirement on the spot because he just got world started so bad. I was like, oh, he says like Beans has like ridiculous talent, and I mean, I haven't seen a lot of him, but I hear Crim say he's ridiculous talent. I heard Method say he's gross. I've heard a lot of like very, very good pros say he's gross. So I'm gonna just rely on them and say that he's probably very good because if all these all-time legends are saying he's pretty good, I'm gonna take their word for it.
Yeah, I would definitely agree.
So
I wonder, is he the IGL then?
I don't. To me, this team's like a by committee.
Okay,
it seems like a by committee team, doesn't it? I don't know. I could be wrong, but
was Methods really the IGL?
I would assume, yeah. Methods has always been pretty good in the comms. I would think. I think this is going to be kind of like a by committee kind of thing, like Optic was doing with Illy.
Yeah,
seems like a pretty by committee. Like I feel like Nero has a lot of knowledge. I don't know how vocal he is. I know Awakening's never been super vocal in the comms.
Mm-hmm.
So it will be interesting to see how this works. I think Vivid's probably playing too fast to be super vocal in the comms.
Yeah, just go with the flow.
Yeah, but I think it's not going to affect them too much in terms. We always talk about how IGL it can help in certain situations, but I mean these guys are all pros. It doesn't really matter at the end of the day in most cases. But it'll be interesting. I think the team improves though because if Beans is as nasty as he says he is, rather than a Methods who's contemplating retirement.
Yeah, definitely a team to watch out for.
And what's the one thing Boston's been missing since they joined the CDL is they've always just not had that slaying punch when it mattered.
Yeah.
And they improved from Teej to Awakening on the flex, and now I would think Beans has more slaying upside than Methods. So
yeah,
I think Beans might bring a pace to them too. I have a feeling Methods typically one of the slower ARs. Beans might bring a little more pace. I'm excited. I think this team could also improve.
Yeah, I like it. Some young guns.
We've been talking a lot of improvements. They picked up a player I'm not a fan of here in Vegas. Clay and Temp, I think are very good. I actually think this Kremp kid, he went by Volance last year.
Yeah, Volance.
Highwind, whatever he went. He was playing with Doug last year. We saw this kid at Minnesota on LAN. I thought this kid was disgusting when I watched him play.
Yeah.
Like I thought this dude has crazy talent, Kremp that they're picking up, but too real?
Nah, give me
Teach
back.
On stage and got smoked. Yeah, give me Teach back. Give me Proloop back. Give me either of them back.
Yeah, this dude got like worked on in that last year stage with Florida.
Yeah, and like, he's got the pillow on stage. Everybody always like says that once they see the pillow across the stage, they're ready. They know they're smoking them, and I don't know. Like I think Two Real's got some talent. I mean, he keeps winning in challengers. Like last year he won, this year he won again. So like clearly the guy's got some talent. Let's not like completely write it off. Like you don't just win in challengers if you suck. Like he's not awful, but I don't know.
He's
I feel like
good. Just I don't
like you're
know.
Florida or not Florida, you're Vegas. Like you got to go for the home run. I don't think Two Real could end up being a solid player. I just don't think he could. He's not like a home run swing. Kremp is a home run swing, and I like it. I like that they're taking a chance.
Mm-hmm.
But
I
I
just
don't know.
is to me he's like a Tej, but like I feel like worse.
Yeah, definitely worse. I'd take Tej over him any day of the week. I would have loved, like, once again, like Vegas' bread and butter is search and destroy. They just got rid of probably their best two search and destroy players.
Yep.
Like, to me, I keep TJ on this team or keep ProLoot, one of the two, whoever I like more for this S&D prowess, and I bring on Kremp and I'd be happy. But Two Real, really? Please, no.
Yeah. Come on, Vegas.
All right. That's enough for rush changes, though. Then that's about all we had for news along with the rank play. Kind of went a bit longer than I wanted to because, over here on this podcast, we love roster changes and roster mania, so we had to get into that a little bit. But let's do predictions. We're going to do predictions for this next week. Maybe not take as long as we do on predictions. We're kind of just going to go through them with our typical format of confidence points, either one or two, and then we get one match to put four on. This week's going to be like, actually, no, technically you can veto my confidence point pick of 4 points if you want to take that team somewhere else because I am the defending champ. I went back to back. I won our Major 1 and Major 2 standings.
I'm down 0-2.
Yeah, you're down 0-2. You got to make the comeback. So technically you can veto me on the 4 points, but we're going to make our predictions quick. And then after that, obviously, you'll see the screen change and we will be doing a tier list. So let's jump into predictions, Brock. We got the LA Thieves versus what we believe is the new look Vegas with Two Real and Kremp as our first match on Friday.
3-1.
Here. 3-1.
Thieves.
Right, you
With
got
the new squadron's gonna struggle against the second place Thieves.
LAT 3-1. How many points you put on that? 2?
2.
2 points. So obviously, I kind of explained it quickly there, but like if you guys don't know how we normally operate, we pick the team obviously, and then the map count, and then we put a certain amount of confidence points. So for that one, Brock put 2. You can either put 1 or 2, and then 1 match per week you can put 4 on. So if Brock were to get LAT right, let's say LAT wins 3-0, Brock would get 2 points because he put 2 on it. If Vegas was to win, he would lose 2 points because he put 2 on it. And then if you get the map count correct, you get an extra bonus point. So that makes the map count matter a lot more. You'd be surprised though. A lot of times we might go like, if there's 9 matches this week, we might go 7 or 8 for 9 and get like 1 map count. Like map counts for whatever reason have been hard this year.
Yeah, it's been
missing a lot of those, but I'm gonna agree with you here. I'm obviously gonna take LAT. I don't know if I want to go 3-1, but I just don't like the idea of Two Real on this team and the change. I like the idea of Kremp. I think the new look maybe shakes LAT up. So I think I am gonna go 3-1. I think maybe they take a search or maybe they take the map 1. I don't really know because it's a new look roster, but I think something catches the Thieves off guard. And the Thieves never seem to be as good online. For whatever reason, they're more of a tournament land team. So I think Vegas takes a map off them, and we go 3-1 LAT. I'm also going to put 2 points on it.
All right. I like it. Donnie will get you 1. Donnie and Clay.
Then we go to a pretty good. We got 2 good matches, honestly, in my opinion, to finish out Friday. Minnesota, who just finished 3rd at Major 2 versus New York, who bottomed out a lot earlier, but had those travel issues. So a pretty good matchup here, Minnesota versus New York. What are you thinking here?
It's gonna be a banger. 3-2. NYSL. They clutch up.
Clutch up on a map 5.
Map 5. Your boy Priesta goes 10-6 in the search.
1, 2, 4. What are you doing?
2 points. 2 points.
2 points. All right. I like it. I think it'll be interesting to see how Minnesota performs in this match because got a lot of people like Ake saying they extremely overperformed at the major and they're going to regress back to where they belong in the standings. But like they've been like top 4 in the standings basically the whole year for whatever reason. Even when it seemed like they were like terrible at the beginning, they were still like 4th or 5th in the standings, and obviously they're still up there, finishing 3rd at the major. But oh man, this is a tough one also because I also think that Minnesota maybe slightly overperformed. But I've been a Minnesota guy all year. I've had a lot of faith in them, and I kind of want to switch it up and take them. I think I'm gonna do it. I think I'm gonna take Minnesota 3-2. I'm only gonna put 1 point on this one though, because I do feel like New York is probably the better team. But for whatever reason, I don't know. I have a feeling that Minnesota
It could go either way.
could come out and make a run. Like maybe they carry off the momentum.
Yeah.
Afro continues to fry, but I actually was kind of thinking the same thing. I don't know if you listened to that flank at all, but Ben was arguing that Afro was like a top 5 sub, and off the top of my head, I was kind of like, yeah, he probably is a top 5 sub. And then Aches was super pissed, like triggered, and was like instantly listed off like 7 subs he thought were better. And I was like, damn, Aches kind of made a good point. I'm trying to think off the top of my head, but he said like Hydra, Shotzi, Pred, Envoy, which I don't know if I agree with the Envoy one right now, but who was it? It was like Hydra, Shotzi, Pred, Simp, Abezy, Envoy, and Kismet is who he said. Envoy and Kismet are maybe a little shaky, and if I believe they're better than Afro, but those other 5, it's pretty hard to argue between Shotzi, Pred, Simp, Abezy, and Hydra. Pretty hard to argue that Afro's better than any of them. So maybe he was right. Maybe he's like more 6th or 7th best sub, but I don't know. I think Minnesota has a decent chance to come out and fry, so I'm going to take them 3-2.
Mm-hmm.
Then we got a good match to end it out again. Toronto versus the new look Boston with Beans. Something interesting I heard about Toronto is everybody had been ranking them so high, but like they haven't been able to beat any of like the top teams essentially when it mattered on LAN. So they've only been able to do it online. Something interesting to note.
It is very interesting. I'm gonna go Boston here. 3-2. New look squad. I'll just put 1 point though.
Boston 3-2. I don't hate it.
They're
I can't hate on it.
with a little honeymoon period.
Yeah, I mean, I can't hate it because I like the team. I think they're going to get better with Beans. I think Methods is a great player, but I also think maybe he was 75% in it since he's been thinking about retirement for so long.
Yeah, he wasn't fully engaged.
Whether he thought in his head he was, maybe, whenever you get that retirement bug in your head, I'm sure you're kind of like subconsciously maybe not fully in it.
Yeah, definitely.
However, Toronto online, they've been a different animal this year. I think I'm going to take Toronto here. I'm going to take him in a 3-1.
Okay.
I feel like Boston definitely has a chance to take this series, but for whatever reason, Toronto's been so good online, and Boston, getting used to the new roster, I think maybe start a little bit slower, but I think they do make the series very competitive. I think it's a 3-1 full of close maps, but I'm going to put 2 points on it and say Toronto 3-1. Moving on to Saturday, we got Atlanta versus Florida.
Man.
This is definitely one of the things I look at, and I think about using my 4-pointer on it, unless you're going to use it on Atlanta at some point this weekend.
We're trying to look at the other ones. No, I'm not gonna put it on this one. Why do I feel like this is? Why do I feel? You wanna go first?
I mean, I can, because spoiler alert, I'm gonna use my 4 on this. I was thinking about potentially Texas Optic over LAG, thinking about using it there. I was maybe actually thinking about using it on Toronto versus Vegas later on, but I'm a little shaky to do it because I do think Florida's new look roster is going to come out and going to play pretty well, especially online.
Mm-hmm.
But I still like Faze, and because I actually think Florida's going to sneakily come out and be decent, I'm actually going to say it's a 3-2. But put 4 points on it, just because I think there's a chance that Florida comes out and gets reverse swept, because Faze, for whatever reason, has been doing that a lot. They've been spotting bad teams a map or two and then just coming back and winning it this year. Mm-hmm. So I think they might do that, but I'm going to put my 4 points on this one. But like I said, I will say 3-2 because I think Florida has a sneaky chance with the new roster to surprise people and throw some stuff on film that they haven't seen yet.
Yeah. Oh man, I literally on your wavelength right now. I literally was thinking. I was literally saying Florida's gonna get 2 maps somehow against Faze, so I'm going 3-2 as well. Just put 2 points. Something about it just matters for me. Just says
and a little hangover from just winning the event. Maybe you come out, you're not as locked in right away, and all of a sudden you lose a map, and you're like, "Whoa, we got to lock in here." And then 1 map turns into 2.
Mm-hmm.
Something about it could easily happen.
Yeah, definitely.
Maybe not as good a matches here on Saturday because this one could potentially be a blowout. Texas versus LAG. Will Optic's new look roster will Ghosty Fry, what do you think?
I think it'll do. I think it'll do pretty decent.
Is that going to translate to an Optic win?
I'm picking LAG
How are you?
3. 3-2. I'll put 1
3-2.
point.
1 point. I'm going to go pretty drastically in the other direction. I think Optic is going to 3-0 them. I'm going to put 2 points on it. I can simply just not put faith in this LAG team until they make the change that I'm requesting. I am requesting that Assault is dropped for Gunless. Get Big P back in the league. If we're going to just play these old veterans like that and throw them in the roster, why not throw one with a lot higher upside? If you want to argue to me that Assault has higher upside than Gunless, argue with a wall, because that is a terrible argument.
You will lose.
Gunless we know as MVP potential. I know Assault won a World Champs MVP in World War II, is only event win, but Gunless has a lot higher potential and a lot higher ceiling, and seems to be extra motivated, and it just seems to be an overall a lot better teammate than he was. Even in his Huntsman days, he seemed to be a pretty good teammate. In his Surge days, they said he was a pretty good teammate. I think he's motivated. There's a clear duo-ship there. Him and Arcitys have very good chemistry, have won multiple events together in the United days, so it seems to make a lot of sense to me. They also won together in the Huntsman days. So it seems to me, Arcitys and Gunless, pair that duo back, and even if you want to keep Exceed and Jodeci's in your sub duo, get a little bit more slaying upside there in your flex and throw Gunless there. So I'm calling for LAG to please do that. Bring back Gunless. He's got familiarity with the org playing for them last year. Bring back the boy Big P. Until you do, I'm going to just pick you to get smoked. So Texas 3-0, 2 points. Seattle versus Minnesota. Seems like it should be a shoe-in, right? Should be Minnesota, but it's Surge. They're randomly going to go like 4-1, 5-0 in qualifiers somehow.
I know. Here's the Seattle, Minnesota. 3-2 reverse sweep. 1 point.
Minnesota's reverse sweeping them.
Yeah, I just how this Surge is gonna go until they make a roster change.
Are they gonna? Oh, so so hold up. You're saying reverse sweep, so you think Surge are gonna win their first search online the entire season?
Yeah. It's just fitting. They'll win and then they'll get reverse swept. Doesn't matter.
They'll win to go up 2-0, be like, oh my god, like this is the one. We're clicking now, and they lose 3 straight.
Yeah. Literally, that's how it's gonna go.
1, 2, or 4. You still got your 4 point left.
I'm gonna put it in 1.
Okay. I was actually thinking about saying that I think Surge are gonna win their first search here. I think that this stage goes one of 2 ways for Surge. I think they bounce back and go like at least 3-2 in the qualifiers, look kind of like their old selves, or maybe like a top 6 placing at the major. Or I think it like really spirals. Like it's already been spiraling. I think it's either they finish like pretty solid up there, or they absolutely bottom out. Like we're talking 1-4, 0-5 in qualifiers. Like can't win a map. Just people are super upset. Pred's like, I'm gonna bench myself because like they've been already talking kind of crazy, and Pred's been like saying he feels like 2018 LeBron and the Cavs on this team, which is God. That's how you know he's out of here, because that is a toxic statement. Like I can't believe that.
That is kind of toxic.
And something like that. Like basically he said like my teammates are doing nothing for me. Kind of wild to hear that, but I don't know. I'm gonna say that they start to turn around here. I'm gonna take Seattle actually to win 3-1. I think they take out Minnesota in 3 respawns. Only going to put 1 point on it. But I'm going to go bold just to split up from you. Give you a chance to build your first lead on me here. Take Seattle 3-1. I'm putting 1 point on it. But like I said, if they don't win this, I think it's going to be like a thing that spirals way out of control, and they like can't win a map, basically.
Yeah.
Chemistry and all that.
Just make the change.
Yeah.
Really? Just do it.
Yeah, do it. Sunday. Florida versus NYSL is our opening match. Who you got? I think the new look roster can make some noise.
Yeah, they'll win a respawn. 3-1.
Respawn, not the search?
Nope. That's time I'm going to win the respawn and then just roll after. I put 1 point.
Still only 1 point. You still haven't used that 4-pointer yet.
Yeah.
I'm going to actually do the exact same thing. I'm going to take New York 3-1 as well, but I think Florida is going to take the search instead of a respawn like you do. I think Florida takes search. I think they're going to be a really good search team, and we're going to see that this weekend. I do think that there's like a weird world where I don't know. I have this feeling that Florida is going to win one of the matches this weekend. But the problem is they're playing NYSL in Atlanta. So just like for my own sake and for the sake of these standings, I just can't in good faith just take Florida to be one of our top teams.
Yeah.
So like it's tough, but I do have this odd feeling that they might be able to get that done. It's just we'll see. I'm excited to watch them though. Of the teams this weekend, it's gonna be tough for me to watch. Obviously, like I said, I'm at a bachelor party all weekend. That I'm also the best man in this wedding, so gonna have to be pretty present at this bachelor party. So yeah, I'm gonna be missing a lot of the matches in real time. Try to probably catch up on Sunday, but I'm excited to go back. First matches I'll be looking at will be the Florida ones most likely because I'm excited to see that roster play.
Yeah, definitely.
We got Las Vegas versus Toronto. You got 2 matches left. I'm assuming this is where you're going to go with your 4 points.
Yes,
That
it
last match is
is.
a little interesting, but Vegas, Toronto, who you got?
Toronto 3-0. Give me some 4 points. Should have kept Tej. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, I actually agree with you. I'm going to go Toronto 3-0 as well. I was thinking about actually just like randomly going, for whatever reason, I wasn't thinking 3-1. I was thinking about doing 3-2 or 3-0, saying maybe like Vegas is able to take a search and a respawn. But it's tough to ever pick Vegas lose 3-2 with how the respawn's been because that means you're relying on them to win minimum 1 respawn, but also lose a search, which is what they typically don't do. It's like the only way they win maps is
Yeah.
if they're winning searches. So I'm actually going to take Toronto 3-0 as well. Going to throw 2 points on this one because regardless of whatever the map count is, I do feel pretty confident Toronto should be able to take this one.
Yeah.
And then we finish out the day on Sunday and the weekend with LAT versus Atlanta. Rematch of Major 2 Grand Finals. Should be an absolute banger to finish out the weekend.
Banger if it is. 3-2. LAT comes out on top.
Ooh, you think LAT gets it done online? Couldn't get it done on LAN?
Yeah. 2
What you putting on
points.
that? 2?
Yeah.
All right. Just for fun and because I'd never pick against them, we know this. I'm going Atlanta with the same map count, 3-2. I'm also going to put 2 on it, but I'll just make this a swing game. That means one of us is going to gain 4 points on the other minimum.
Yeah.
I'll make it a swing game. I'll make it Atlanta 3-2, and I'm also going to put 2 on it. But yeah, that's toss up. I mean, that's arguably our top 2 teams right now because they were the top 2 at the last major.
I feel like LAT a little bit more hunger than Atlanta at the moment. And I was like, yeah, it's just another match.
Yeah, they just scare me though. LAT is never as good since last year. They're never as good online as they are on LAN. They're always way better on LAN.
Yeah.
So that's a bit scary, but that's it for the predictions. We're gonna quick pause 1 second, hop back in. I'm gonna get the tier list all up, and then we're gonna do a tier list of all the CDL teams. So we'll be back in a second to do that, and you'll see the screen change. So give us 1 second, and we'll be right back. All right, so we are back here with the tier list on the screen. As you can see, we're just doing S, A, B, C, D for the tiers. Not going to be like our player tier list where we're having like a specific amount of players we have to put in each one. Just going to be if we think all 12 teams deserve S tier, we're going to put them there. Obviously, we don't believe that, but there's going to be no limit. So everybody could end up in B tier if we really think everybody's just kind of at the same level, but no limits. But we're just going to kind of grab teams randomly as we go. Do we want to get the easiest one out of the way, Brock? Do we want to put Faze in S tier?
Yeah.
Just get it. I mean, we can. Basically, how we're ranking these teams is obviously a lot of it is how they've looked, but we're slightly projecting them going forward. I would say like we're not gonna if we think that New York is probably still an A or S tier team because they're at the top, but we think maybe they're gonna suck this major. We're not gonna throw them all the way down in D because obviously like that's way too much projecting. But like if we think normally right now Florida is a D tier team, but we like the way their roster looks, we might bump them up to C because we're kind of like ranking them heading into major 3 kind of how we think things are going to go. So it'll be like a rough power ranking of the standings. We'll maybe even try to put them in order, like top of A if they think they're there, bottom of B if we think they're there, and basically go 1 through 12. But I think we can both agree, Faze, the defending champs, the team that is the most reliable is S tier. We always go back and forth between who we think is going to finish, top 2, top 3. But the one constant is always Faze is top 3, if not top 2, almost every single event. Well, all the other teams flip flop all around. Faze is always
every year.
Always at the top. I mean, it's rare they finish outside the top 3 at an event.
Yep.
So we got Faze and S. I'll let you pick the next team. Who you want to go with?
Seattle. Surge.
All right. Where are you thinking for them? Because I feel like I have maybe a controversial opinion. Or at least like
Either,
what two tiers would you be teetering them? Let's start with that. Like what two tiers would you be between?
I really want to put him in D or C.
Yep, I agree. Uh, I think my controversial opinion on them is I think that they're C instead of D because when I compare them to the other couple teams that are in that range, they have Pred and Sib.
Yeah,
So
and
the
they can't.
potential for them to make it further is a lot higher than a few of the other teams I think that are down there.
Yeah, they can't get much worse. So they can only go really up.
And if we're doing it based on how they look now, they suck. But like, don't you agree? Like, if I'm comparing them to London, like if I had to pick a team to make a run, I think London has zero chance. I could see a world where Surge can make a run at Major 3 simply because they do have Pred and Sib. Like they could
Yeah,
just Shaq and Kobe their way to a top 6.
they very well could. Yeah,
We
I'm
could put them
fine.
at bottom of C even, but I want them in C.
I'm fine with C for. I'm fine with C.
And like, if I guess we really think that they stick out there, we can move them. But for whatever reason, I think they do fit in C. That's maybe a little bit more of a controversial team because they kind of slot back and forth. Let's go to another team that maybe is teetering on that same thing. Let's go to Florida. I feel like they're kind of the C versus D debate.
Uh, I feel like they'd be more. They're like hovering over C within roster.
I agree. I think that maybe their old roster was D tier from what we saw, but I think they improved this new roster. The question is, do they go ahead of Surge and C or behind them?
I feel like I have to say behind them for now.
You think? I was thinking, yeah, I'm okay with behind them. But I was also thinking there's also a world where I could see an argument for them being ahead just because I think their floor might be higher. Because I think this Florida team's going to be competitive with everyone, whereas the Surge, like their ceiling is definitely higher, but man, is their floor low sometimes. They haven't won a Surge online. Like it's rough. But I'm okay with putting them
Yeah,
behind them, but they're basically like on the same level in C, in my opinion.
yeah. We can just leave it for now. Then, if after we want to change it, we can.
Yeah. All right, we'll let you pick a team now this time.
All right, let's put a team in D tier. London.
Yep, get them down there.
I'm sick of these boys, unfortunately. I like Asim, like
I
Scraps,
love
but
Ace.
they
Maybe
need.
something changes if they do end up blowing up the roster and making the roster. Maybe something changes, they get better. I have heard interesting rumors about maybe Gizmo coming back, but that doesn't move the needle too much for me. They're still a D tier team, and maybe like I
Yeah.
said, maybe they'll make some wild roster change and they'll pick up some crazy good players. But yeah, their ceiling is much lower than the two teams we have in C, being Florida
Hmm.
and Surge. Because like on that Florida team, you do have um, guys like a Capsidal and a Havoc and a fellow that can go in and take over games. And really on London, apart from Asim at times, they don't really have takeover players to make a run. So they're D tier.
They do not. Yep.
Uh, let's go to a team now. I don't know. Do we want to go? What do we want to do? A team that I feel is pretty safe, or a team that I think is controversial?
We can do controversial.
All right. Let's talk about Boston.
Boston.
I feel like this is probably like what a lot of people would argue B versus C.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody's arguing A because their A is probably reserved. A is probably reserved for like your top 4 teams and up, roughly.
They're a good
Boston's not there,
middle
but
team.
to me, when I look at like where we have people ranked, I do feel like Boston is a tier above Seattle and Florida, though.
Yeah. I fully agree.
So I think Boston's a pretty firm. Like I think they're like the definition of B.
Literally.
Like they're like a team that I feel like is pretty consistently going to be like 6th or 7th. Can maybe peak up to like a 4th. Could maybe drop down to like an 8th or 9th.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're the definition of a B tier team. They might end up being right in the middle of these standings, like 6 or 7. Because this is kind of like a loose power ranking. It's not official, but like loose for us.
Yeah.
So Boston and B tier.
Let's go Vegas.
Oh boy, another probably C or D tier debate here, huh?
Yeah. C.
You think C?
I think C. Maybe at the end of it, but
See, I don't. They're the only team probably to me that could be in D tier of the teams left. And
that's very possible.
I don't. I mean, I'm not gonna say like obviously for sure, like Ultra, Minnesota, Thieves, New York, Optic. Obviously, none of those guys are in the debate for D tier. But I don't know. I think Vegas might be ahead of London, but in D tier. Because especially when we're looking at how they're going forward, like I think they got worse with their roster change.
Yeah.
The way I
I
look at it,
thought,
they were probably bottom of C, and they just got worse. They
yeah,
finished 12th in the last major.
I'm fine with that.
I'll put them ahead of London though.
All right.
I just don't.
If they had Teach still, maybe we start talking C plus.
If they didn't, if they had Teacher Prolu instead of Too Real, I think maybe. But I don't know. Like it's kind of the same thing for me. Like if we're coming down, we're saying, all right, major threes here. Which of these teams do you think can make a run? I would say, with Pred and Sib, I think Surge could make a mini run. That Florida team, I do think they could put a backbone on Surge and make a mini run. But like if I'm looking at that Vegas team, the way they stand now, unless Too Real really surprises me, I don't see a run out of them.
Yeah,
I respect them enough though that I do like them more than the London team, mostly because of Clay and Temp. So we'll put them ahead of them in D tier, but yeah, I don't know because I don't think anybody else is going to D tier.
Yeah, I'll vote left. Yeah, I agree.
Let's go with we have an empty tier, so let's go with a team that I think should be in that tier. LA Thieves. I think they go in A.
Definitely.
Pretty solid in A. The argument here would probably be A versus S, right?
Yeah.
I think they're closer to S probably than they would be to B, but to me, the reason I don't think they deserve to be in the company with FaZe, although they just did end up making it to a final against them, is because I think LAP is probably top 2, top 3, top 4 for sure, but I need to see a little bit more consistency. I know this team has it in them. I won't be shocked if they end up winning the next major, finishing top 2 again, but I just want to see a little more consistency because before Major 2, even in the qualifiers and at Major 1, they looked fine, but nothing special. So I want to make sure it wasn't just like one hot weekend and this team is the real deal, which I'm pretty confident they are. But, we just got to be sure.
Yeah, consistency.
You agree with A, though? You have no problem?
Yeah, I got no problem with that.
All right, we got 5 teams left. Got a lot of purple left down there. Go with one of the purple teams.
Toronto.
Ooh, this is an interesting one. Do you feel strongly about where they go?
Nah, I can't. Not really. Hard for me to pick between B or A.
The thing is, like, we both, probably even me a little more, have been like pretty strong Toronto supporters, but like I heard a lot of arguments that convinced me that they're maybe not as good as we thought they were right away. Like, for God's sakes, what are they now? Like 0-9 or 0-10 all time against FaZe on LAN.
Yeah.
They haven't been able to beat any of the good teams on LAN is basically what I saw. And I think they're top of B, bottom of A, but I'm almost leaning, especially with a few of the teams we have left, I'm almost leaning at putting them top of B for now.
Nah, I was definitely thinking B more than A.
Were you?
Yeah.
I like them out of Boston and B though.
Yeah. Like hovering on the B plus.
I think they're like the one team on B that could, like, I think they're looking at the rest of the rosters, unless maybe we slide one more team down. I think they're the team that I would put at the top of B.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that because I like the talent of the team, I could see them. It comes back down to the run thing, like them versus Boston and B. Like I like Boston's team. I think they're solid, but like I think with guys like Scrappy, Kleenex, Toronto has the potential to make a run, like to a final or something. Like nobody would be shocked by that, but we'd be a lot more shocked if Boston made a run to the final.
Yeah.
So I like them at the top of B. I'm gonna say let's do Optic now.
Optic.
I think this is another A and B debate, but I lean towards behind Thieves in A.
They did get top 4.
They got top 4. I think their slaying is going to improve. I still think like this team is probably a top 4 team because the way I look at it, I think Minnesota and so the way I look at it right now, kind of spoiling where I see things. Like New York weekend was a little bit of a fluke. I think just the travel issues, everything. I think this team's really good. I think New York's weekend was a little bit of a fluke. I think they're better than what they showed. Minnesota, I think, might have overperformed slightly, even though I love this team. Rocker, send me some merch. I love your team. But if I'm making a top 4, I think Optic rounds it out. I think I'm probably putting FaZe, LAT, and New York is my top 3, and I think Optic rounds it out, and I think Minnesota and Toronto are my 5th and 6th. So I think Optic's probably like in the 4th spot for me, and I think they're like a slight tier above Boston for sure, and maybe above Toronto. So I like them at the bottom of A, I think.
No, I definitely agree with that.
I don't think they're even. There's no argument for them in S, and I definitely I will fully listen to arguments to put them in B. I do think B would also be a fair spot to put them.
I don't think I would B.
I like bottom of A though. I'm definitely putting them behind Thieves.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like Optic bottom of A, so that gives us a nice little spread. Now we move on to whoever you want to go with. We got Minnesota, LAG, and New York left.
Oh, LAG, I forgot. Put them in C.
Where do we put them in C though?
The last spot.
The last spot. All right, I'm okay with that. I don't know, for whatever reason, Florida behind Seattle is like sticking out really odd to me. But I don't know. Seattle does have the potential, but man, they suck right now. We're saying Seattle. Technically, based on where our standings are right now, we're saying that Seattle would make champs because they're 8th. Because I'm assuming we're putting Minnesota and New York above them in C.
Yeah.
So that means that we'd be putting Seattle in champs right now ahead of London, LAG, Vegas, and Florida. I guess it's really not that unrealistic, especially since they do have a 2nd place finish.
Yeah.
With the points they got from that, I really can't see Florida, LAG, Vegas, or London making a run to 2nd. So I guess it's maybe fair, but God, Seattle, with how bad they've been recently, sticks out awkwardly in that top of C tier. But I agree, though. I agree with LAG and C. I do think that their respawn, specifically their hardpoint, has been really good since the roster change. I do think they're maybe a slight step above those other teams, especially if they bring in Gunless for Assault, please.
Please.
I'm going to pick what I think is the easier one for our last 2 teams left. I'm going to go with NYSL, and I think that they slot in right between Thieves and Optic in A. Above Optic, behind Thieves.
I agree. That's fair for them.
I do think, though, that like after this weekend's matches, we might say they're above LA Thieves and they're back in the 2 spot. I just think it's really tough to put them up there because regardless of whatever the circumstances were, they did finish top 8, and Thieves made a miraculous, great run to the finals. From losers round 1, they made that incredible run all the way to the finals. So I do think that New York probably, I still believe New York might be the better team, but just right now with how good LAT looked in the last event and New York bottoming out early, it's tough. But we're putting them 1 spot behind them in A tier and above Optic, so I like that. And we got Minnesota, probably the heavier debate for me because I feel like New York Subliners is for sure an A tier team. I think Minnesota's between A and B.
Yeah, I would say they got top 3. They're looking a lot better. I would only assume they could be. They're gonna get better and better more time.
I don't know though. Are they? I'm not convinced that they're going to do better than 3rd or 3rd or better at the next major.
It's so tough. This team, I don't know.
Because I would argue that they go above Toronto and B or behind Toronto and B. I'd argue they're B only because, like, I mean, like, if back against the wall, if I have to pick a team that I think is going to finish top 3, I'm taking Faze over them, I'm taking Thieves over them, I'm taking Subliners over them, I think I'm taking Optic over them, and I might be taking Toronto over them. So if I can see 5 teams that I'd like to maybe take over them, I don't think I can put them all the way up in A because A is reserved for a pretty elite tier of teams. And also, if we put them in A, then we have to move Optic down because I don't think we can put 5 teams in A or above. That means almost half the league we're saying is A tier.
So,
unless you really want to make an argument for them in A, I think they're top of B. I think they're top of B, bottom of A. I think they're like pretty similar position as Optic, but I trust the Optic roster to be more consistent, I guess.
Yeah, I was thinking more just like high B.
Do we like them above or below Toronto? I'll go with whatever you say.
Let's go with above Toronto.
Okay, I'm okay with that. I think it's pretty much toss up. So put them above Toronto. So this leaves us with our tier list. We ended up making it pretty balanced. We go 1, 3, 3, 3, 2 for the tiers. For those listening on audio platforms, I will read off the tier list that we have. So that leaves us with Faze in S all alone. Then we've got, this is basically the order too. This is basically 1 through 12. We didn't go into super detail, but roughly how we're power ranking the teams right now. We got Faze in S, followed by LAT, New York, and Optic in A. Then on to B tier, we've got Minnesota, Toronto, and Boston. In the C tier, Surge, Florida, and LAG. And then in the D tier, Vegas and London Royal Ravens. So basically our 1 through 12 there. I like it. I wouldn't be shocked if that ended up being the way things shook out at Major 3. Although I really doubt we're going to have a back-to-back rematch in the finals because, the way that these recent games work, how random they are, we typically don't see a lot of consistency in our top twos.
Yeah.
I like this, though. I think there are a couple of points that could be debated. Where's your biggest point of contention that you think people have? To me, I think it's that bottom A, top B. I think there is going to be an interesting debate around where you put Optic, Minnesota, and Toronto.
I agree. I'd like the most heaviest debate.
Oddly enough, I think the S tier is the most clear. I think it's Faze alone right now.
Yeah, after that performance.
Because I think everywhere else, I don't think any of the teams from C and lower or from C could move up. I don't think there's any way you put any of the teams in C and B. I mean, I can see a world where maybe you move Vegas up. I can see a world where you move LAG and even Seattle down to D. I wouldn't hate those arguments. I think the other safest team, I think Boston is pretty safe in B tier for now.
Yeah, I think it's good for now.
Yeah, but that's pretty much going to do it. Unless you got anything else you want to add, Brock, we can wrap this one up and get the people out of here.
No, not really. Just saying Patrick Mahomes is better than Josh Allen will ever be.
Oh, yeah, that's a shout out to our friend that's a Bills fan. Patrick Mahomes, yeah. Didn't talk about it at all, but Super Bowl last night, it was a great game.
Yep.
Until, the unfortunate holding call had to ruin our chances at seeing a game-tying or winning drive for Hurts and the Eagles. Would have liked to see it. Technically, probably by the rules, the best call, but I think selfishly all of us would have rather have seen it not called so that we could have seen an intense game-winning or tying drive.
Let the penalty go. I don't think it was catchable anyways.
Yeah. But it was a good game. It was fun to watch. I mean, we've seen some bad Super Bowls, but that was probably one of the better Super Bowls we've seen. High scoring and close. Yep. High scoring and close is the dream. That's what you want.
Yep.
You want it to be, it was damn near 40-40. They both almost scored in the 40s. Like, that's what you want. You want a high scoring, close game.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, it was a good game. Fun to watch. I'm sad football's gone because that's my favorite sport. You guys know. Brock and I are both in pain with our teams. Brock's a Falcons fan. I'm a Colts fan. We'll both probably be in pain for a while with our teams.
Lamar Jackson this year. Let's go.
Thankfully, we're on to basketball season, though. Brock, you don't really have like a team. You like basketball, but you don't really have a team. Obviously, you guys know I'm a big Bucks fan, so that's a lot better sport for me right now to watch my team in.
Yeah, I just like players, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I do as well, but I've always been a huge Bucks fan, even when they sucked, and now that they're good, I have to just soak in these seasons as long as I can because I know the second Giannis either retires or leaves Milwaukee, we're probably back into another, basically what my whole childhood was, another 20 years of mediocrity.
He got one.
Yeah, we got one. Hopefully we get at least one more. That's pretty much going to do it for today, though. Appreciate you guys watching, talking about some roster news, made our predictions. Drop your predictions down below. We want to see them. Drop your thoughts in the tier list. I don't think anybody will have anything crazy different. Like I said, you might flip Optic, you might flip Minnesota, maybe Toronto, maybe a couple teams in the bottom. But I think everybody's tier list will be pretty similar. But tweet me screenshots of your tier list if you make one, or comment down below what your thoughts are. Drop any thoughts below. If you want to talk about the Super Bowl, if you want to talk about the NBA, if you want to talk about football, you want to talk about COD, I'd like to discuss it all. In the offseason, we'll probably dedicate a decent portion to random sports news as we have less and less COD to talk about in July. But that's going to do it for this one. Like I said, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed. And we will see you next week with reactions to the matches from this weekend and then more predictions. So thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.